nothing whatever to do with you or I."
"You mean she didn't leave them anything at all?"
"Nothing," with a faint shrug of his shoulders, "so far as I'm aware."
"Is it possible she made a settlement on one or other of them before she died?"
"I don't think so. In fact, I'm quite certain she did nothing of the kind. You see," he explained, with an almost fatherly glance this time, "I handled all her affairs, and have done so for many years, and I would know whether any generous action of that sort had taken place. But this firm has certainly not drawn up any deed of settlement in favour of the Fitzgerald brothers. For one thing," with an infinitesimal pause, "they were the least little bit of a thorn in their aunt's side."
"You mean they weren't all she would have liked them to be?"
"Well," he looked down at some papers on his desk and straightened them. "Lucien Fitzgerald, her eldest nephew, is in no need of financial assistance from anyone. But the two younger lads are a couple of spendthrifts who, if they had expectations from her, have been doomed to disappointment. But I wouldn't let their disappointment worry you."
But Jocelyn's feathery light brows were drawn together in a faintly anxious frown, and the blue eyes were not altogether convinced. "Blood is thicker than water." She voiced it as her opinion, and if they had been my nephews, I would have had to do something about them. And I shall feel dreadful if, when I get out there, I find that, without intending to do so in the very least, I've been the means of upsetting some of their future plans, perhaps altering their plans altogether."
Mr. Dashwood continued to smile complacently, but there was just a faint edge of reproof to his voice as he observed, "My dear young lady, if you'll forgive me for saying so, I do feel that you're rather casting doubts on the mental acumen of my late client, and the qualities which probably made her a very worthwhile relative to possess at certain periods in all three of those young men's lives, and the fact that she left them nothing is really no concern of yours, but that she has become your benefactress is something for which you can feel really grateful, and which must always endear her memory to you." Jocelyn felt as if she had been guilty of rank ingratitude by championing the cause of the nephews, but he went on with great briskness. "And now, how soon do you propose to go over to Ireland?" Once more his elderly eyes were beaming at her, and his wide smile was all encouragement. "I can advance you any money you may require at any time, you know, and if you'd like me to make reservations for you, I expect you prefer to fly rather than risk a bad sea crossing, and if you take my advice you'll spend at least one night in Dublin. It's always worth seeing." When she finally left his office, Jocelyn felt as if she were living and moving in a dream, and nothing was any longer completely normal. She was a young woman who had just been bequeathed a disturbingly large sum of money and a beautiful house, and in addition to both of these things, she was going to Ireland for the second time in her life. But at the back of her mind that worry persisted. What of the three nephews? When she arrived in Ireland, it was raining, the skies weeping softly as they so often do weep in the Emerald Isle. Despite the rain, she would have liked to have spent more than one night in Dublin, but she was anxious, almost consumingly anxious, to see again the house which had been left to her in Fairhaven, memories of which had lingered like a pleasing echo in her mind from the time that she was 12. Fairhaven was no more than a cluster of houses, only two of which were large, set down beside the sea on a remote tip of the southwest coast. Inland there were mountains which looked like purple mist when the sun shone on them, and when the sun was not shining, they seemed to interpose a barrier between Fairhaven and the rest of the world that was like a grim grey wall. But within the barrier there were rolling hills that were so bright and green that the incredible depth and perfection of their colour was almost a challenge to the eye, and where the waves broke upon the shore the shining strip of sand was palest wedding ring gold. In summer, the cottages that comprised Fairhaven village were smothered in torrents of climbing white roses, and bees hummed continually in gardens where the giant hollyhocks provided shade for drowsy hens, and even an occasional somnolent pig,